I'm going to be making a low carbohydrate version of roast. We see the meat right there. And we have onions, some olive oil, some beef broth, and some minced garlic. And there'll be some other spices that I already have that I'll be putting in there as well. And the idea is that it's going to be a very low carbohydrate version of pot roast. And we're going to be cooking it in pressure cooker. So I've poured enough olive oil in the pot there to completely cover the bottom, so there's a thin layer of olive oil in there. And so next I'm going to be placing this rack down on top of it like that. And I've cut up the onions, peeled them already, and halved them. And so I'm going to be placing part of the onions to kind of raise the meat up off of the rack. And then I'll pour in maybe a can or two of the beef broth, and then perhaps some water. And along the way I'll be putting in various spices. So here's the seasoning I put in. I put in a little bit of just regular table salt, nothing fancy. Put in several shakes of lemon pepper. I also added some little bit of onion salt, and then some Italian seasoning just for variety, and then of course the minced garlic. And so that's what it's looking like before I put the lid on it and begin the cooking process. I put about 4 of the onion halves on top of that rack down in the bottom that I showed you just a while ago. Then I put the large chunk of meat, and it is quite a large chunk of meat, on top of that, on top of the onions. And then I put in 2 cans of the chicken broth, I'm sorry, beef broth rather. And then about 3 or 4 or a little bit more cans of water, because you want everything covered with liquid when you're cooking with a pressure cooker typically. And then I added in these various seasonings. So the next step is to plug the machine in and set the timer. I initially set it for 30 minutes, and then I checked it, and I found out the meat wasn't done to my liking, and so I ended up total going for an hour. So with that large of a chunk of piece of meat, and with my pressure cooker, it ended up being an hour-long process. So now I'm letting the pressure out. I used a spoon in order to spin the little thing up on top in order to let the pressure out, the little petcock. And I always put a towel or something on top of the petcock where the steam comes out, and then that way it kind of keeps it from shooting directly on anything. It just kind of goes off into the air. So I ended up cooking the meat for a total of an hour. There's still this is only part of it. The other part's still in there. Probably won't be able to eat all of it, so I'll save some of it for later. Cooked it to a consistency where it's just kind of falling apart, which that's sort of what I wanted. So it has a very good flavor. So that is a low carbohydrate version of pot roast cooked in a pressure cooker. If you have one of these machines, give it a try. It tasted pretty good.